Some of you are probably thinking, Father, I think Deacon Doug read the wrong gospel. We just had that like 2 weeks ago. I remember Deacon Larry preached on it. You know, he talked about the scary stuff when he was a kid. I think we just had that gospel. And if you're thinking that, you're right. We just had a very similar version from Mark. This one's Luke, same little passage. So I don't know the mind of the church always when the church puts together the readings, but for some reason, the bishops' committee that finalized the lectionary thought you needed to hear it again on this first Sunday of Advent. And clearly, Advent's always about two things. We're celebrating Jesus coming 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem, and we are looking forward to his second coming. So they've always both been there. But I speculate that maybe those bishops probably were sitting around the table and were saying, most of the people just get focused on, how wonderful Christmas is. And that becomes the real focus. And we like thinking back to when we were kids. And wasn't it wonderful? And when you're putting up your trees, you're just hearkening back. And it's kind of romantic. And the lights are, and like we're going to do after Mass, we're going to light the tree. And isn't it beautiful? So those bishops probably said, okay, they got to be reminded with really strong language that it's also about Jesus coming again. So let's do a real strong gospel here so that they just don't get stuck on Christmas past. But Christmas future needs to be there as well. That's my guess. As they sat around that table and said, yeah, put that one in. That'll shake them up a little bit. But I also speculate about why Luke put it in there. Because clearly all the gospel writers, as they write, are telling the story as they know it. But there's also probably some personal things in there that helps them to say, I've got to remember to put this one in. The scholars speculate, guess, that Luke never met Jesus. He was later, and he interviewed people. And he wrote around 90 A.D. So if you are Luke, by the time you write this gospel, you not only have heard about Jesus' death and resurrection, but you would have heard about Peter's martyrdom, James's martyrdom, Paul's martyrdom. You would have known about Nero's persecution of Christians in Rome. You would have seen the fall of the temple in 70 A.D., the disbursement of the Jews throughout the Roman Empire. You would have known about Mount Vesuvius exploding and Pompeii and surrounding countryside being covered with lava. You would have known all of that. And so as you're writing your gospel, I think one of the things Luke wanted to make sure was in there, that his gospel was apocalypse proof, that people couldn't read it and go down a wrong path. For if you were listening carefully to today's gospel, what Jesus is talking about is when he comes again. when he comes again. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. He is coming back. And when he comes back, it will be so momentous that some people will die of fright. Jesus knew that when he comes again, some people are going to be scared. This is a good thing. This is not Satan coming. This is not your hated politician arriving on a cloud. This is Jesus who is coming back. And it will cause tremendous turmoil in the world as we know it. What are you supposed to do when he comes back? Did you catch that in the gospel? So when all these things are happening and the world is in turmoil, should you hide? Should you run away? No, when Jesus is coming again, you stand up and welcome him. That's what you and I are supposed to do. This is a good thing. But good things are sometimes scary. They can be. Jesus' death and resurrection is a good thing, but it wasn't something he wanted to go through. He prayed that there'd be some other way. But he accepted his Father's will that this was the way. And so when Jesus returns, it will be scary for some people. What Jesus warns us today in the gospel is, don't get sleepy. Don't think it's going to happen. Well, it's not. Jesus has been delaying now for a couple thousand years, so maybe he's going to delay another 1,000 or 10,000. And he might. But it might be tonight. Could be tomorrow that he comes back. And so we should be ready. So I think it's maybe in that gospel and on this Sunday, just to make us get focused on what is important and to be ready to stand up to meet Jesus face to face. So here's an image for you that maybe what this Sunday is about. I think this Sunday is about like having turbulence on a flight. Do you like having turbulence on a flight? Or just think of the last time you were on a plane where there was so much turbulence that where the luggages popped open and people were like screaming a little bit. I always try to find, those pilots who are riding along on the plane to see how they're reacting to that. Are you upset? No, they seem calm, so I shouldn't get upset. But there's nothing like turbulence to get you focused on what really matters. Because prior to the turbulence, you were thinking, we're going to be a few minutes late. And then I got to wait for my luggage, and I got all those things to do before I get okay. And as soon as you have that turbulence, none of that matters. None of it. You just are praying that we land. That's all that matters. I want to live. Or, okay, we might die, so can I say I'm sorry for all those things that I should have confessed, but really didn't? So God, you'll forgive me, right?